Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. Kevin Hogan here. Let's take a look at our top stories. The U.S. travel ban from Southern Africa now in effect. A top health official saying it'll take a few weeks until we know more about the new variant. International concerns rising over the Omicron variant. Several European countries battling the strain, and Israel and Canada are closing their borders in response. A South African doctor offers updated knowledge on the Omicron variant. She says symptoms are mild and can be treated at home, though vaccine makers are already ramping up testing on boosters and new vaccines. The new Omicron variant complicates travel as the industry tries to recover from the pandemic. Some passengers were stranded in Johannesburg, while others made it home. The director of the National Institutes of Health says it'll take weeks to figure out if vaccines are effective against Omicron. But he says there are good reasons to think it'll probably be okay. NTD's Jessica Beatty reports.
U.S. health officials are warning against jumping to conclusions on the Omicron variant. The director of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Francis Collins, said Sunday, there's no data yet that Omicron causes more serious illness than previous variants.
We have no data so far to suggest that it would be. There's even a bit of a report from South Africa that maybe people with this are milder than the usual case, but they're mostly young people who have mild illness anyway, so I would say we just don't know. We do think it's more contagious when you look at how rapidly it spread through multiple districts in South Africa.
As of Monday morning, no Omicron cases have been detected yet in the United States. But a senior scholar at the Johns Hopkins University Center for Health Security says it's probably already in the U.S.
It's likely something that is here at a low level. Delta still continues to be the predominant variant, but I would not be surprised at all to see that Omicron is already here and possibly spreading in small clusters.
A U.S. travel ban from southern African countries just went into effect Monday. It does not apply to U.S. citizens and permanent residents. White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci defended the move on NBC's Meet the Press.
When you diminish or stop or block travel from a particular country, there's a reason for that. It's to give you time to do things, to be really ready for something that may not actually be a big deal, but we want to make sure that we're prepared for the worst.
The U.S. travel ban was announced last week after South Africa detected the new variant. Some Republicans criticized the delay in imposing it. Congressman Thomas Massey tweeting Saturday, "No worries, travel ban begins next week because, variants don't spread on holiday weekends." Senator Tom Cotton tweeting, "Joe Biden's announcement of a travel ban 4 days in advance is worse than useless." We reached out to the White House for comment, but didn't immediately hear back. Jessica Beatty, NTD News.
The World Health Organization has labeled the Omicron strain a variant of concern, and now it's been found in several European countries as well as Canada and Australia. The WHO and other officials sounded the alarm over the weekend, saying the Omicron variant can be highly infectious and that it can reinfect people who already had COVID-19 before. It's unclear how it affects people who have gotten the vaccine. This, while one South African doctor told news outlets it causes only mild symptoms, but they're unusual. The Netherlands Public Health Institute said the variant was found during sequencing of about 60 positive test results, though it said there could be more. What's more, Israel is shutting its borders to foreigners and using phone tracking technology over the Omicron variant. That technology is used for counterterrorism. The travel ban will last 14 days, according to the Israeli Prime Minister. Meanwhile, the UK is taking new measures to slow the variant.
We need to slow down the seeding of this variant in our country. We need to buy time for our scientists to understand exactly what we're dealing with, and for us to get more people vaccinated and, above all, to get more people boosted.
Johnson said people coming from any country would have to quarantine until getting a negative result from a PCR test, and face masks need to be worn. All this as the EU says it needs to buy time to deal with the Omicron variant.
We take this Omicron variant very serious. And we know that we are now in a race against time. Why that? Because we know not all about this variant, but it is a variant of concern. And the scientists and manufacturers need 2 to 3 weeks to have a full picture about the quality of the mutations of this Omicron variant.
And France says it's likely circulating in the country. That's while the Dutch have found over 60 cases of the variant from passengers from South Africa. The Netherlands is now testing for the variant. Omicron has posed a challenge to Australia, a country that was about to reopen, but now it's unclear if it will. The country found its first case in its Northern Territory, and now Canada is closing its borders to travelers from 7 South African countries. And in China, another outbreak has authorities declaring more lockdowns. In Shanghai, more than 20 hospitals are shut down, and many have suspended emergency services. More than a third of all flights at 2 Shanghai airports are canceled. Bus transportation to and from the airports has also largely been halted, and travel businesses that go between provinces were told to stop their services. Official reports from the communist regime say the lockdown measures are a response to 3 cases in Shanghai and 1 in the city of Dalian. But reports from the regime cannot be verified independently, and Chinese netizens are questioning the widespread shutdowns after just a few new cases. Northern China's Inner Mongolia region also increased its lockdown measures. A top South African doctor is offering a clue about the symptoms of the Omicron variant. She said they may look unusual, but so far not severe enough to trigger panic.
Angelique Coetzee is among the first doctors in South Africa's capital to spot the symptoms of the Omicron variant.
Looking at the mildness of the symptoms that we are seeing, currently there's no reason for panicking as we don't see severely ill patients.
Coetzee currently serves as head of South African Medical Association. She says the new strain causes unusual but mild symptoms, adding that some of those who get infected can even be treated at home.
The most predominant clinical complaint is severe fatigue for 1 or 2 days, with then the headache and the body aches and pain. Some of them will have what they call a scratchy throat, and some will have a cough, a dry cough, but it's not a constant cough, it comes and goes.
Coetzee explains that unlike the Delta variant, patients have not yet reported loss of smell or taste, and that doctors have not detected any major drop in patient oxygen levels. Local hospitals have also noticed more young patients under the age of 40. Vaccine makers are now working to test their products against the new variant. Moderna's chief medical officer estimated that results of that testing could come in a matter of weeks, but added that if a new vaccine is needed, it won't be ready until early next year.
We think within weeks, maybe 2 to 3 months, we would be able to have a Omicron-specific vaccine booster available for testing and then for administration. So, this is going to go at the fastest possible speed.
On top of that, one Maryland-based biotech company known as Novavax is developing a redesigned version of the vaccine that specifically targets the Omicron variant. It plans to start the testing and manufacturing phase within the next few weeks.
The new Omicron virus variant has made travel more complicated in an industry that is trying to rebound from the pandemic. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
Travelers were stranded at Johannesburg International Airport on Monday as flights from South Africa were canceled. The travel restrictions were imposed after the country announced it had identified the new Omicron virus variant.
I am very sad, depressed, and helpless because the Kenya Airways doesn't understand that we are UK residents because we are going there as a skilled workers. So we don't know how to do. We are just waiting here.
Some were able to make it home. A Lufthansa flight from Johannesburg landed in Frankfurt late on Saturday evening. Passengers were allowed to leave the airport after undergoing regular controls and were asked to go into isolation. But the protocols appeared inconsistent to passenger Jay Ratchenko.
For us, it was important to know whether we have to go into quarantine or not. It's all a bit strange. My colleague here was told to go into quarantine. I was told by the police that it was only mandatory as from midnight tonight. Quarantine is recommended, and recommended to me means that it is not mandatory, so I won't do it.
Earlier on Saturday, health officials announced that 2 cases of the new variant had been detected in the southern German state of Bavaria, and the suspected case was found in the west of the country. At Newark Liberty International Airport on Sunday, passenger Jose Gazardi had just arrived from South Africa.
It was scary. It's suddenly like we started hearing about this new variant. I think it was Thursday, and then we woke up on Friday. There's like all these new restrictions. It looked much more serious. So we were concerned if we were going to be able to come back home.
Preliminary evidence suggests an increased risk of reinfection. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Now we turn to the strain's impact on the stock market. Fears over the Omicron variant dealt a blow to global markets global shares over the weekend, but today we're seeing a rebound as investors wait for more information about the new strain.
Asian stock markets fell on Monday amid lingering concerns about the Omicron variant. Japan's leading index Nikkei 225 closed 1.63% down. That's as the country has moved to bar foreigners from entry in an effort to ward off the Omicron strain. In South Korea, the benchmark Kospi ended 0.92% down, its lowest close since October 6th. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 0.95%, losing more than 228 points. In Europe and the U.S., investor moods seem more upbeat Monday. Over the weekend, top financial firms did not push for portfolio adjustments, despite rolling news about the Omicron variant. The Pan-European Stock 600 advanced 1%, a rebound from its sell-off on Black Friday. Germany's DAX index stood at over 15,000 points, an increase of 0.61%. U.S. stock futures and crude oil prices joined the market rally following a sharp drop in risk assets. Travel stocks are also trading higher. Aerospace company Airbus, Lufthansa Airlines, and Ryanair Airlines rose between 0.7 and 1.7% after the Friday slide. Analysts say uncertainty surrounding the new variant means trading is likely to remain volatile for some time.
Merriam Webster has picked the one word it believes represents 2021, and that word is vaccine. The publisher announced today that the term vaccine is its official 2021 word of the year. Merriam Webster says the choice highlights the dual discussion surrounding vaccinations this year, how the COVID-19 vaccine was seen as both a promising medical solution and a source of political debate. The publishing company notes that online searches for the definition of vaccine jumped over 600% between 2020 and 2021. This is the second year Merriam-Webster has made a virus-related pick. Pandemic was its 2020 word of the year. Still to come, even with less buzz surrounding Cyber Monday, Adobe makes a big prediction about how much money consumers will spend. And actor Matthew McConaughey says he's decided not to run for Texas governor. Instead, he will direct his support to other endeavors. Find out more in just a minute here on NTD News.
You worked hard for your money. You invest in stability for your retirement and your family's future, to build and leave them with something greater. The next unprecedented financial crisis, political misstep, or unstable government can depreciate it all away. It was called the gold standard for a reason, the financial preservation of tomorrow. Diversify your assets against inflation, market volatility, and the unknown with real money. Hedge your wealth with the purest form of money, physical gold and silver. Because any currency printed on paper can be manipulated. What's backing up your IRA? Do what you need to do right now to be prepared with the Reagan Gold Group. Visit now, rggusakit.com, or call us at 866-912-1384. Receive up to $2,500 in free silver coins and a free safe with your new precious metals IRA. Call now.
The ongoing supply chain crisis? Big tech and other woke companies giving billions to the liberal left? Where will you shop for Christmas? Go to Mammoth Nation. We created a safe place for patriots to spend their money for Christmas and beyond. Shop thousands of products from American and veteran-owned businesses. Shop to the right, give to the right. This is how we fight tyranny. Go to mammothnation.com right now and become a lifetime member today. Use promo code EPIC and save 30%.
I just applied to join the NYPD.
This is betrayal.
How do you feel about catching officers? Once you cross the line, you're no longer an officer. Just like that. Where are you going with this?
Can you promise me if things get too dangerous, you'll quit?
If I feel I can't handle things anymore,
then yes, I'll put my papers in.
New York will descend into the anarchy of the 70s. Last thing we need is to defund the police.
Freeze!
The Transportation Security Administration screened 2.45 million airline passengers on Sunday. It's the highest number of daily passengers since the start of the pandemic. It was the highest for one day since mid-February 2020. Volume for the 10-day Thanksgiving travel period as a whole was 20.9 million. That's about 89% of pre-pandemic travel numbers, and it was more than twice the volume of 2020. Despite fears that the jump in demand could strain the system, U.S. air travel was relatively smooth over the holiday period, in part due to favorable weather. U.S. airlines have been racing to add more staff and flights to handle the rising number of travelers, offering bonuses and other incentives for current staff. Travel group AAA had forecast 53.4 million people would travel for the Thanksgiving holiday, up from 13% from 2020, with most travelers going by car. U.S. retailers are estimated to generate online sales of up to $11.3 billion on Cyber Monday, but that's a decline in growth from a year earlier because of fewer discounts and less buying choices. Retailers also spread out promotional deals across more weeks this year to protect profit margins from surging supply chain costs and to better manage inventories. Those attempts have lowered sales on what are traditionally some of the biggest shopping days of the year. Adobe Analytics data shows online spending during Black Friday fell for the first time ever, and Cyber Monday is expected to bring in between $10.2 billion and $11.3 billion. But the excitement on social media seems to have fallen this year. The White House is ready for the holidays. First Lady Jill Biden is unveiling this year's holiday theme and decor titled Gifts from the Heart. Her office says it was inspired in part by the challenges of the pandemic. More than 100 volunteers from the local area spent a week decorating the inside and outside of the White House. The display includes 41 Christmas trees, about 6,000 feet of ribbon, 300 candles, more than 10,000 ornaments, and nearly 79,000 holiday lights. Biden will be joined by a number of National Guard members and their families later today to enjoy the festivities. The first night of Hanukkah was celebrated on the White House Ellipse yesterday with the annual lighting ceremony. Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff, the first ever Jewish spouse of a president or a vice president, addressed the holiday crowd. A rabbi lit the first candle on the national Hanukkah Menorah to mark the first night of the 8-day Jewish celebration. Doug Emhoff tweeted that Hanukkah has long been his extended family's favorite holiday. This year, Hanukkah began on November 28th during Thanksgiving weekend. A former Secretary of Defense filed a lawsuit over the weekend against the Pentagon. He says the Defense Department is unlawfully blocking material from his pending memoir. Mark Esper was the head of the Department of Defense for about 18 months during the Trump administration. He says the Pentagon is trying to censor unclassified information. Esper submitted a manuscript to the agency about 6 months ago. The adjustments the Pentagon made included removing quotes from former President Trump. Esper tried engaging with the Pentagon for around a month to understand why the redactions were made, but ultimately turned to the courts. He wrote a letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin saying he was not given a reason for the redactions. The Pentagon said in a statement its pre-publication review process is aimed at protecting national security. The book is scheduled to be published in May 2020. It was formerly titled Last Line of Defense. It's now set to be released as A Sacred Oath. Actor Matthew McConaughey has decided against entering the race for governor of Texas. After acknowledging that he had been thinking about a run for office, McConaughey explained his decision on Twitter yesterday. While the actor says it's humbling to be considered, he adds that it won't be his next role.
What have I learned? A lot. That we have some problems we need to fix. That our politics needs new purpose. That we have divides that need healing.
McConaughey says instead of pursuing politics for now, he'll be supporting entrepreneurs, businesses, and foundations that he believes are leaders. He didn't rule out seeking office in the future. At the same time, Republican Governor Greg Abbott is planning to run for re-election in what would be a third term in office. while former Texas Congressman and presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke has announced his candidacy for the Democratic nomination for governor. Coming up, a town in Hungary is building a sprawling nativity scene ahead of Christmas, one of the largest in Europe. The tradition even managed to survive the country's communist rule. Stay tuned to find out more. Aviation company Hi-Fly says an Airbus A340 plane has landed in Antarctica for the first time in history. Captain Carlos Mirpuri and his crew flew from the aircraft from Cape Town in South Africa to Antarctica and back. The 10-hour round trip covering 2,500 nautical miles. Footage released by Hi-Fly shows the plane landing on Wolf's Fang runway and Antarctica on blue glacial ice on a sunny day. Mirpuri is also vice president and co-founder of Hi-Fly. He said operating on a blue ice runway with glare reducing visibility required a whole different way to approach this mission. The mission's aircraft will be used this season to fly a small number of tourists, scientists, and essential cargo to Antarctica. In a small Hungarian town, villagers are upholding a religious tradition, creating what's called a Christmas nativity display. Using models of structures, people, and animals, it depicts the birth of Jesus Christ. The 73-year-old tradition survived the country's communist rule and now ranks as one of the largest nativity scenes across Europe. Let's take a look.
In the tiny Hungarian village of Vors, this sprawling nativity scene is ready for the first Sunday Mass of the Advent period. Every year before Christmas, locals gather in their Baroque church to recreate the sacred scene, a time-honored tradition that even survived the country's communist rule.
It's a wonderful tradition. Locals build it, all of them in volunteer work. I am very proud that we can move people this way. It's a real community effort, and everyone does it very happily and with love.
A large wooden structure serves as the foundation. On top, rolling hills and valleys lead to the Cave of Nativity. Miniature figures, flocks of sheep, and even a small campfire bring life to the picture. The project's chief builder said although locals always use the same main frame to create the scene, the content changes every year.
It's already a great feeling to look at it. There are still a few things to do, but it's almost ready. We love it. I am always very sad when we have to dismantle it. I could look at it all year.
First built in 1948, the project grew year by year until it reached its current size, over 600 square feet. That makes it one of Europe's largest indoor nativity scenes. This year, the village expects thousands of visitors looking to catch a glimpse of the scene, despite a surge in COVID-19 infections.
Zookeepers in Miami have something special to be thankful for this holiday. Their bald eagles are having a hatchling. A webcam installed in a special nest platform for a bonded pair of eagles revealed something special, the existence of a precious egg. Those looking to catch a glimpse can watch the live stream on Zoo Miami's website. There, viewers can tune in to watch the proud parents' progress. The Ron McGill Conservation Endowment teamed up with the Wildlife Rescue of Dade County to build the new platform after a storm. The egg's parents have been a bonded pair for more than 10 years. Dogs reigned over the waves in the Brazilian coastal city of Natal during the Surf Dog Festival. During the competition, dogs surfed next to their owners on paddleboards. Beginners were provided with life vests to ensure safety in the water. First place winners were Patafina and her owner Augusto Cesar. The pair had previously won silver and bronze medals at the World Championships. Event coordinator Jacqueline Codore said the festival has proven that it is possible to have humans and pets interacting on the beach. Thanks for watching. At NTD, we're honored to be your source for the news. Catch us again at 6:30 Eastern tonight. In New York City, I'm Kevin Hogan.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selected videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.